Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So our mission today is to really dig into a stack of sources detailing what looks like a massive escalation in the AI arms race.
A huge one.
Yeah, for a few years now, the whole narrative around Google was that they were, struggling, trailing their rivals in AI innovation.
Falling behind, yeah.
Well, that narrative just got a major rewrite.
Right.
Google has launched Gemini 3, and it feels like a very clear attempt to seize back the leadership mantle.
And that's the key context. We're moving past just the launch announcement. We need to analyze what this new system, Gemini 3, actually means. I mean, how does it shift the competitive balance against, say, OpenAI or Anthropic?
Right.
And maybe more importantly, we have to talk about the biggest question hanging over the entire tech sector right now.
Monetization.
Exactly. How are they going to pay for the trillions of dollars pouring into all this stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So let's frame the central tension right up front. Is Gemini 3 the technological leap, the actual breakthrough that finally justifies the staggering, almost insane investment required to build and run this new AI?
It is quite literally the trillion-dollar question. And the answer is going to determine the future of, well, every major tech company.
Okay, let's unpack this with the source material. Google isn't saying this is just a small update. They're calling it a major leap over the last version. What specific capabilities are they pointing to for that claim?
Well, the sources highlight that the leap is focused squarely on things that actually make money, commercial and developer utility.
The tasks that pay the bills.
The tasks that pay the bills. If you look at the details, the improvements are all about high-value, high-efficiency outputs.
Okay, so let's nail those down, because that's where the enterprise money is.
First and foremost is autonomous software development. Now, this doesn't mean the AI just writes a perfect app from scratch,
Right.
but it gets so much better at handling the routine, repetitive coding, the boilerplate stuff that probably takes up, 80% of a developer's time?
Like a huge chunk of their day.
Automating that just dramatically speeds up a company's ability to ship new features.
So that's a massive win for developers. But what about the non-coders?
For the knowledge workers, we're seeing big improvements in areas like heavy-duty document analysis for big companies.
Like sorting through millions of internal reports or something.
Exactly that. And then there's the stuff that seems mundane but takes up so much time, like email organization and summarization. The model can actually manage huge inboxes and draft really complex contextual replies.
And the user experience itself is changing. The sources keep talking about Gemini 3's ability to do mixed media responses. It's not just giving you text anymore.
That's right. A mixed media response means if you ask about, historical art, you don't just get a wall of text.
You get pictures.
You get pictures,
Yeah.
but it can also integrate text and graphics, maybe compare design elements from two different paintings side by side. It's just a richer, more dynamic output. They want it to feel less like a search result and more like you're talking to an expert.
And this model isn't going to live in a silo, which gives Google a massive,
huge advantage, yeah.
a huge advantage. It's powering the Gemini app, but it's also baked right into the AI mode in Google Search, one of the highest traffic websites on Earth.
And that deployment strategy is everything. You are instantly putting this powerful new tool into the hands of potentially billions of users.
Yeah.
For a smaller company like Anthropic, which just doesn't have that global distribution, the game gets infinitely harder overnight.
Okay, let's shift gears to the technical side of this arms race, the benchmarks. Because in this industry, bragging rights are all about percentages. And Google is claiming some pretty impressive numbers here.
They certainly are. The big number everyone's talking about is 72% accuracy on a widely used industry benchmark.
And that's good.
The sources say it's one of the strongest results ever reported publicly, and Google's claiming it outperforms competitors on a bunch of standard tests.
But hold on a second. We've heard this before, right?
Yeah?
Do we really trust these self-reported in-house benchmarks? Aren't they often, cherry-picked?
That skepticism is totally warranted, and the market knows it. But what's interesting here is how Google is trying to get around that skepticism. Their CTO, Corey Kavakuoglu, said that accuracy will get even better once it's deployed inside Google Search.
How does that work? Is that like an accuracy shortcut?
It's a hybrid approach, and it's a really important distinction. The model's generative part comes up with the answer, but since it's plugged into the search engine, it can instantly fetch real-time info to fact-check itself against Google's index.
Oh, so it's trying to stop the AI from just making stuff up.
It's trying to address the hallucination problem head-on by marrying the new generative AI with old-school information retrieval.
That makes a ton of sense. But that hybrid approach, is also where some experts are seeing a big limitation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Manos Koukoumides, he's the co-founder of OMI. He warns that if you're expecting Google to just, quote, eliminate the need for BLE links and completely handle research, the tech just isn't there yet. The fact that it still needs to lean on the old search index for verification shows it hasn't achieved, true independent reasoning. It's an amazing assistant to search, not a replacement for search.
Got it. Okay, so tech limitations aside, let's look at adoption, because scale is everything. Google is closing the user gap fast. The Gemini app is now at 650 million monthly active users. That's almost double what it was in March.
That is just explosive growth, and they're leveraging their existing user base to do it.
So how does that compare to ChatGPT?
Well, OpenAI recently said they have about 700 million weekly users across their products. So while OpenAI might have a slightly larger, more engaged base right now, Google is adding hundreds of millions of monthly users. The scale is just undeniable.
And this kind of momentum has to be putting massive pressure on their rivals.
No, for sure. Our sources suggest that inside OpenAI and Anthropic, there's a serious debate happening right now about how this shifts the whole competitive landscape. It's less of a product launch and more like a direct competitive blow.
Because it targets their business model.
It's a profound disruption because it pressures their core business models, especially on the enterprise side. If Gemini 3 really is better at automated coding or document analysis, it starts stealing the enterprise dollars that OpenAI needs to pay for its own giant infrastructure.
Right.
Mike O'Rourke from JonesTrading summed it up perfectly. He said, given Google's scale and its dominance in search, Gemini could easily take market share and leave OpenAI and others scrambling to keep up.
And scale is Google's ace in the hole. But the ripple effect across the whole ecosystem is just as important. I mean, you have to think about companies tied to the rivals firms like Oracle and Microsoft.
Yes.
They've committed billions in infrastructure to support their AI partners.
That infrastructure angle is absolutely critical. Microsoft, Azure, and Oracle have these huge financial commitments tied to the success of their partners. If the tech advantage shifts this quickly, that massive spending suddenly looks pretty risky.
The whole industry is just so interconnected now.
It is. They're investing at a scale where a shift in leadership threatens corporate balance sheets. Instability anywhere affects stability everywhere.
Which brings us right to the enterprise cloud battle, where Google is actually seeing immediate financial returns. Google Cloud revenue is soaring.
It's up nearly 33% year over year, hitting $15 billion. And the sources are clear. That growth is almost all driven by demand for AI services.
So for Google, Gemini 3 isn't just a product, it's a strategic weapon for their cloud business.
It's probably their most valuable strategic weapon right now. It strengthens their position against Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services immediately. They can go to huge organizations and sell this integrated Gemini powerhouse.
And what are the specific enterprise selling points that justify those huge cloud fees?
It's the utility for these massive global companies. We're talking about being able to analyze proprietary internal data instantly, which is a huge deal for compliance and efficiency. We're seeing big advances in transcribing multilingual meetings with more accuracy and, like we said, managing complex corporate email at scale.
These are features that create value right away.
They generate revenue immediately.
And Google's also playing the long game for adoption. They're making their AI Pro subscription-free for college students in the U.S. That's a $240 annual savings?
It's a very calculated strategic move. This is the second time they've done this promotion in 2025. They're building user habits and platform loyalty with the next generation of managers and developers.
So they want students trained on Gemini and using Google Cloud before they even get a job.
Exactly. They want future adoption baked into the labor market.
Okay, we've tracked the tech, the scale, the competition. Now we have to zoom out to the biggest picture of all the economic reality check. The AI boom is slamming head-on into the cost question.
And the numbers are they're almost incomprehensible. This is the point where the discussion needs that bigger picture context. McKinsey estimates the industry will spend nearly $7 trillion by 2030, just on data centers and supercomputer infrastructure.
$7 trillion. Just to put that in perspective for you, that is roughly the combined annual GDP of Japan and Germany. It's about a third of the total U.S. national debt.
It's a nation-state level of investment.
It's a build-out on a scale we've never seen. And why is all that necessary?
It's because these models are so computationally intensive. Every single query costs money to run. And when you look at that colossal spending, the current returns still look pretty narrow.
Right.
Our sources point out that the main use cases dominating right now are One, slightly enhancing traditional search, and two, helping software engineers with routine coding.
So those are efficiency gains for sure, but they aren't creating massive new markets.
Exactly. They are useful high-utility cases, but Wall Street is getting more and more skeptical that these gains are going to generate enough new revenue to justify the spending. Investor nerves are definitely rising.
Ben Bajarin from Creative Strategies, he summed up this feeling perfectly. He said, and I'm quoting here, "We need to start seeing truly high-value use cases before the revenue catches up. We're not at that point yet."
And that forces us to define what a truly high-value use case even is.
Right.
It's not just speeding up someone's job. It's automating an entire job function, or maybe enabling a brand new scientific breakthrough that creates billions in new intellectual property.
So, for example, if an AI can replace an entire team of junior analysts or fully automate drug discovery, that's high value.
That is high value. But if it just helps a single coder write code a little faster, the return on that $7 trillion investment looks questionable.
So what does this all mean for us trying to track this industry? The race itself is changing. It feels like it's less about who has the absolute best model today and more about which company, Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, can prove a clear, sustainable path to making money before the infrastructure costs just crush them.
That's the critical takeaway. Google has built a very capable model that instantly shifts the competitive pressure, especially in that all-important enterprise cloud space where they're already showing real revenue growth.
But the whole industry is still under the same pressure.
The entire industry, regardless of who has the best tech today, is locked in the exact same existential financial pressure cooker.
So accuracy will keep getting better, the scale is accelerating, the utility is obvious. But the fundamental challenge is just finding those true high-value use cases that turn this massive investment into real sustainable revenue.
The capabilities are advancing at the speed of light, but the economic model to support it is still stuck in beta testing.
So here's a final thought for you to take away. Given that $7 trillion estimate for infrastructure costs by 2030, how much of that burden do you think will eventually be passed on to the average consumer or enterprise client? And what new, truly transformative function would you need to get to justify that inevitable price tag? Something to consider as you watch this space evolve.